La ilaha illallah, which is in fact the first tenet of the 10 Commandments of the Old Testament. While the Medina period was dedicated to the establishment of a just society, the adoption of the famous Medina Constitution. Therefore, there are two fundamental tenets of Islam: truth and justice. The Muslim insistence on truth and justice, however, is not always properly understood. Some see it as the Muslim attempt to hold the monopoly on the whole truth, and the others see the Muslim justice as a violation of human rights. Of course, it is not true that the Muslims have the monopoly of the whole truth, for the simple fact that the Quran calls for the common word between Jews, Christians, and Muslims, who have responded to it by an open letter to the world, as well as by this and other conferences around the world. As to the idea of justice, I would say that it should be tempered with love and mercy. That is particularly needed in the Sunni law and theology, because in the case of Shia theology, as far as I know, we already have the idea of irfan as a way of mystical love for God, whereas in the case of the Sunni theology, that has been left to the Sufi school as a separate body of Islamic spirituality. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali is the best example of the need of the Sunni law and theology to be tempered with a Sufi kind of love of God and human love of neighbor. Al-Ghazali could not find that in the fiqh and kalam, because the former is deduced to the unreachable justice, and the latter is reduced to the uncertain reason. Sure, all humans will be brought to the final divine judgment, but our raja, hope, should be that merciful God will judge us not by His justice, but by His love and mercy. But also, men should be mindful and fearful, khawf, of God's punishment because of His misconduct and mischief. It is often a matter of preacher's choice to speak of hope for paradise, targhib, or to highlight the horror of hell, tarhib. It might be that for some people the horror of hell is deterrent, but human mind cannot operate in despair. Since it is very fragile, the human soul needs love and care. It needs help to overcome despair. It needs justice tempered with love. It is this Imam Ali saying that we have to hear. The political power might last with infidelity, but it cannot continue with injustice. Al-mulku yabqa ma'al kufri wa la yabqa ma'al zulmi. Here is the right time and right place for us Muslims to respond to the Christian call for love. But also, here is the right time and right place for you Christians to answer to the Muslim call for justice. We have to be honest to each other. The Christians believe that Muslims hate them, while the Muslims believe that the Christians are unjust to their cause. Our Jewish brothers should not feel abandoned from the story of love and justice, because in it there is hope that our relationship will be the one of justice for all in our common land, and the one of love of God and love of neighbor wherever we are. Because we all take different paths in life, but no matter where we go, we take a little of each other everywhere. It is well known that 20th century physics discovered Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It confirms that it is difficult to truly know measure everything about an object, whether it is an electron or a rabbit, because the very act of observing it changes its behavior. Therefore, other than humans, everything else can only be known through isolation. We humans are completely different. We can only be known, and we can only know ourselves through interaction with the world around us. In contrast to electrons and rabbits, we come to know ourselves through the research and modification of our relationship toward the other human beings who are both similar with and different from us. The vitality of faith is in its resistance to be subdued to the exhausted history which cannot reach out beyond its own exhaustion. Consequently, faith is the biggest challenge to the believers themselves, who very often lose the transcendental meaning of history because of their exhaustion in the exhausted history of their own. The core of the religious worldview is the connection of the transcendental ghaib or batin with the immanent shahid and zahir. The ghaib is just absent, it is not non-existent. And the batin is just hidden, it is not dead. The shahid is just present, it is not eternal. And the zahir is just apparent, it is not essential. This world, ad-dunya, is here and now, present and apparent, but it is not eternal and it is not essential. The other world, al-akhirah, is absent and hidden, but it is eternal and essential. Hence, the mission of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not to invent the new faith, but to affirm the old truth and to integrate the transcendental with the immanent, to assure man that he has purpose which goes beyond himself, and to raise the community so that it may play the role both of the affirmative history and the integrative force. It is always the balance between seemingly excluding elements that makes faith an attractive and inclusive force. This is true not only with regard to the theological or metaphysical worldview, but also with regard to the historical or political action. The integration of al-dunya with al-akhirah is derived from the divine source, but the theological concept of it is a human act. Therefore, the act of integrating and balancing is not an accidental thought, but the substantial divine concept on the basis of which human models could be made. In other words, the principle of the integration of the dunya with the akhirah is the paradigm for the integration of all extremes which make up the balance of the whole. Thus, since faith, iman, is the integrative force between strongly related values, the faithful, mu'min, is the integrative agent between apparently interdependent realities. This makes us understand clearly why the faithful community has been given the role of the integrative position in history, as it is stated in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ وَيَكُونُ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. صدق الله العظيم. It is God who has made you to be the integrative community, ummatan wasatan, so that you may be witnesses for man and that the messenger may be a witness for you. I have translated the Quranic word wasatan as integrative, rather than justly balanced, as it is Yusuf Ali's translation of it, or middle way, as others would say, to give to the Muslim community, in order to give to the Muslim community the meaning of the active rather than the passive witness. And this is what is the Ummah meant to be, the universal community in the middle of the world affairs, who has the active task of connecting, attracting, and integrating the immeasurable greatness of the divine with the immeasurable diversity of human. Furthermore, the Ummah has the task